What's up, guys, and welcome back. This is Eric with ToneSmith and Maker Foundry. Now, today, if you've ever wanted to take a finished design and give it that grunge, distressed, vintage look without round tripping through Photoshop actions a dozen times or even having to open Photoshop at all, this one is for you. So, we're going to introduce Effects Studio, which is a brand new tool inside of ToneSmith. It's a live, non destructive effects editor for finished artwork. Now, what it is not is a halftone editor. This does not separate or halftone. That's going to be inside of our halftone editor tool. For this one, you're going to bring in a finished design, maybe one that's already halftoned, or just one that's straight out of whatever tool you use. You're going to bring that in, you're going to style it, and then you can send it to the halftone editor to prep for print, or just put it out to sell or on your POD store or whatever you're doing, right? This is not only for print, this is for anything. And honestly, this plugin itself justifies ToneSmith altogether, but let's mention the price right now. It's included free with every ToneSmith plan. So whether you're paying monthly or annually, or you have a lifetime license or whatever, it's included with every ToneSmith plan for free. There is a free demo you can try right now at tonesmith.makerfoundryco.com. Click the demo button and you'll be prompted which demo you want to try. Choose the effects editor. And then also, we have a free trial. So if you want to try everything on your own art, if you want to try the halftone editor, the gang sheet, the mockup studio, or the effects editor, you can do all of this directly from ToneSmith for free for 7 days at tonesmith.makerfoundryco.com. And you won't be charged anything if you cancel before day 8. Speaking of the plans, though, we do have a special on our lifetime licenses. We only have a few of them left at the $99 price point. And then we're still running our launch promo for our monthly and annual plans. All right, let's get into it. So first off, before you even go into it, you're going to notice when you log into ToneSmith, you get this start screen now. Because we started adding so much, we thought it best not to just direct people straight into the halftone editor, but give them kind of a start page where you can choose what you're doing. So you're going to choose Effects Studio. I already have it open over here, so we're going to go back into the Effects Studio here. Now you'll also notice I went over the guides really quickly. So we do have, if you click on this guides button or this FAQ button, you'll be taken to our guides and FAQ section. The guides are these, and then we have a guide for every single plugin we have. For today, we're going to be talking about Effects Studio. So if you click on the Effects Studio guide, you can view all of the information I'm going to go through here today written in a much more summarized fashion. If you don't want to play by play, save some time and go there. All right, back into Effects Studio. So when you launch Effects Studio, you're going to notice that it's immediately, let's back out of this, it's going to take you to the screen. This is where you're going to upload your artwork. Now it supports PNG, JPEGs, or WebPs. It also supports our proprietary .overtone format, which is going to save all of your work. Or you can choose something. These are .overtone files that we've saved from previous work. You can open up a previous project or upload that directly. It does download to your computer if you select that, and that's going to save all of the layers and edits that you made over here in the effects stack on the right. I'm going to go ahead and clear these out because we're going to pretend this is a new image for the tutorial today. Now, once you load your artwork, you can go ahead and see how this whole effect stack works, right? So inside of the editor, we have 3 different panes here. We have the left pane, which is your library pane. This is going to contain kind of all of your effects you can add. So color, texture, patina, throwback, grit, crisp, and image controls. This is all on the left panel. These are the effects that you can add. In the center, you're going to find your canvas. This is where all of your results are going to be displayed. We have multiple view modes on the canvas. You can view your result, your split, which has a draggable slider to see your before and after, or your original if you just want to see what the original image looked like. You'll also find the new image button, which takes you back to that home screen to either choose another project or upload a new one. We also have the undo and redo buttons, which pop up as you make changes. So they are clickable when eligible to be used. You can also use your keyboard shortcuts. So you can use Command or Control Z and Command Shift or Control Shift C on PC to go ahead and flip those on and off as well. It does recognize the keyboard shortcuts. You'll also see a shirt toggle up here. That's going to preview you a shirt color. It's going to default to black because that's kind of the most common people are doing on, but you can also choose white or you can choose your own color by clicking a preset here. So if you want to do a gray shirt, just change it to gray, etc. All right, and on the right side is your effects stack. Now over here, think Photoshop layers. So this is where your layers and settings are going to live. You add effects from the left as layers. They pop up over here on the right as you click them. and then they render bottom to top and nothing is destructive. So per layer, you get controls like reordering, toggling visibility, opacity sliders, settings. You can remove them by clicking the delete. The trash can button will pop up there. You can order your changes to change the look, and nothing bakes in until you export. So everything is changeable, nothing is destructive. You can add as many as you want and stack them, and that's where the custom looks come from. Let's jump into the functionalities and what they do. So we're going to start with the image tab. Now, this is where you go to get your image prepped to even start editing. We recommend doing anything in image first, because if you come in and change this after, it's going to change all of the effects you put in. And that's because of a browser memory issue. We can't really control that. So make sure your image is the size you want before you start adding effects. So for instance, this is only 8 wide by 10 high. If we want to make this 11 wide, we need to go ahead and change that here, set the print size, do an AI upscale. We don't need to remove a background because there's no background on this one. It's already transparent, but now we're good to go and everything's ready. So now we can move into the first one. Let's start with color. So color is where you can add a chromatone, which is a preset. So let's just click on one here and you'll see this gradient pop over. Now this is a gradient map recolor. So what that means is shadows go to one end and highlights on the other. And if you look at the stops over here, you can see kind of how this maps out. So anything super dark at 0% is going to render as this color. Anything at 99% and above is going to render at this color. You can add these stops. You can change the order of them. You can move them around. You can change the colors by clicking here. So you want to add this to like a green, whatever. You can do all of that directly within the preset itself. To change the look. With Chromatone, you can also change the opacity. So if you want less of a tint, you can drag this down. You can change different presets here, and you can also stack them on top of each other. So if you want that one and a black and white fade one, you can stack them on top, drop the opacity down, change the look that you're going for. Now, when I was speaking about layers over here, you'll see these two, we now have two Chromatone layers, Metropolis and Radio Wave. If I don't want one, I just click delete, right? Or I can move them up or down. I can toggle the visibility, etc. I can erase them all together. Simple. So Chromatone is a plain recolor. Now, a lot of the times you can use this to unify a messy palette. If you have a lot of colors going on and you want to bring that closer together, you can make a duotone, or you can get like a neon pop instantly. Just scroll through some of these, play around with them, see what you like. Next up on our list is texture. So texture is what we're calling Screentone. Basically, what this does is lays a clean procedural halftone pattern on top of your solids. This doesn't knock anything out, it just adds that pattern on top. So you'll see it added that on here when I clicked orbit. Now, when you click one, again, everything stacks. So if I wanted to change this to a different one, what I don't want to do is just start clicking through different ones to see what they look like, because really quickly you'll see all these stacking on top of each other and rendering. So we can go ahead and toggle the visibility or delete them because we don't need that many. Maybe you meant to stack them and you can choose which ones you want to stack, but if you just want to change, over here in the effects stack panel, like I was telling you about, you can change those here. So if I want to change from orbit to bloom, it's just a one click here. You can also change the size, the texture fill, and the stroke and fill color. Quick explanation on what those do. Size. Pattern scale is really what the size is. So if you drop this up to like 85 LPI, it makes this really fine. So you're going to see all the patterns get smaller and denser together. Whereas if you drop this down to a lower LPI, it's going to make that bigger and more noticeable chunks. That's across all settings here. So every single one of those is going to have that. There are a couple that are going to have some extra settings. We'll cover those in a sec, but everything's going to have opacity and size and angle. Angle controls what angle it's sent at. This is sent at 22.5. You can also change it to 0, and then it changes the order or the angle at which it's presented. And then stroke and fill color are what you can change the stroke and the fill color of the pattern to. Now, these function kind of like an overlay, especially if you're at a very low density. So if you turn this way down and then you set a stroke color, that makes the stroke dots a little bigger. And the fill color is the space in between. So if we change this to like a white, it's going to change that as well. So that overlays that quite a bit. It defaults to just a darker color of the print of the existing artwork. So it kind of renders where it's at and chooses the color based on the position of the pattern. And that's the default. And you can also use a chromatone layer above this to change the color to that. So real quickly to demonstrate that, let's throw a chromatone layer back on here. And let's hit this button up top, clip to layer below. And then we've clipped that to the Chromatone layer, which you can't really tell when it's such a big pattern and such high opacity. But for instance, if we turn this up to a little bit of a higher one, not opacity, higher size, so we get finer dots, and then we adjust this opacity. You can see that here, it's really just coloring those dots in between and not the entire image. So if I turn this off, that's when it clips to the entire image, right? So again, stack these however you see fit. We're going to delete that out for now. And then that's how these work. If you pick one like our wave one, which is called Tide, you'll see that that changes to wave lines. Let's turn the opacity back up so we can see it. And let's actually change these back to like darker colors. It might be easier just to delete this layer and add a new one. So let's add Tide in. Now you can see the waves here. Again, texture fill, lower keeps the pattern scaps visible in the areas, 100% fills it solid. So it just depends how much of that texture you actually want applied. Wave amplitude, wave frequency, those are unique to Tide. Angle, again, is the angle at which they present. So all of these are adjustable. Play with them. This adjusts to your entire image at once. All right, let's delete this out of here. Now, Patina is our next tab. Patina is basically a complete overlay of the image as well. So this isn't something you brush on. This is the entire image. This is a real photographic grunge texture that applies over your design. So this is how you get your worn, hand-printed, vintage tee feel looks. So we have tons of different ones in here, from light, medium, heavy, and vintage presets. You would just pick one. So for this one, let's pick, which one looks cool here? Let's pick sediment. I think that one looks pretty cool. So let's pick sediment. That applies over the entire image here. You can change with any of these your opacity, as always, in every layer. You can change your blend mode, which for most of you, you're going to stay on multiply. That's what's going to darken. But if you have something else, you can switch to screen, overlay, or soft light if you want to see what they look like. We're going to stay on multiply. And then you can change your scale again. Now, the higher you drag this, it's going to tile the texture finer. So it's going to make it smaller and tile it more. The lower that you drag this, it's going to be bigger original application. So it just depends on what scale you're going for. 100 is going to be the default. 100 is going to evenly apply it to your entire image. All right, so play around with these. Again, you can stack them. So if I want like a little bit of sediment and I want to drop this down to like, I don't know, 20, 25%, and then I want to add in some linen, you can stack these on top of each other, drop them below. You can even clip it to the other layer. So linen will only apply where sediment was applied. So you're getting double application somewhere and none in other places. And that usually looks kind of like a unique effect. So play around with these. Again, everything you can clip below. Let's turn these two off, go back to our original image. And again, it's automatically clipped to your artwork. So nothing is painting. Like if I click this, even though it paints the entire image, and turn off my shirt preview, nothing is going over these transparent areas over here, right? It's only going to clip to your artwork. So everything is always protected. Your transparency is safe. All right, next is Throwback. These are your vintage looks. So there's only a few. They are pre-configured in here. You can change the opacity and the tint on them, etc. But say if we click washout, right, we're going to get this washed out color. You can control how much fade, how much opacity, how much saturation comes into this filter. But basically, these are kind of your one-click vintage color gradings. So fade, tint, age, the airbrush retro feel without the manual work. That's what these are. There are different ones. So there's washout, sun fade, goldenrod, tobacco, newsstand, and faded rose. You can change the tint on some of these. So if I wanted to change this more to like a blue tint or something like that, I could. And then of course I could drop the saturation and fade again and opacity and drag this around to get the look that I'm going for. All right, now the next one is the one that is the most exciting. This is grit. So these are your grunge brushes, and this is kind of our biggest feature that I'm most excited about. So this is really where you're going to live if you're trying to do grit, like a grit, grunge, vintagey feel. So grit lets you paint real grunge and distress by hand with authentic brush tips. So these are our own brush tips. They're super popular, but you don't have to use them in Photoshop. So everything's been included in this web app for you. Now there are different modes. So let's select like grit 40. I tend to like grit 40. I don't know why. It's one that I like, but there are other ones. There are finer ones, coarser ones, whatever you like going forward. So when you click one, you're going to automatically start painting. So you have a brush, you are in painting mode. If you don't want to paint and you want to move stuff around, you need to click that painting click to stop so you get your handle back. And then when you want to paint, you click paint on canvas to enable the brush. Okay, now the first thing you'll need to choose is your mode. So erase is what we're on now. And this is going to actually erase with the brush texture wherever you click. So this is going to knock worn out holes straight through a solid print. So if you just click here, that's going to knock those holes out. You can change the brush size and go smaller, makes the pattern smaller. You can also just drag and do it all at once. Let's undo that because that was a little heavy handed with such a small brush. I would usually probably move this up a bit and click around and do 1 or 2 clicks and be done. Right, so there's your vintage. Now, what I meant by erase is if we turn on our shirt color again, you'll see that that's going to preview as black. So this is a straight erase mode. So that's the first way to use this. Now, the second way. All right, so now let's go to another grit. Let's choose grit 38. Now, when you go into add mode, you're going to get a couple different options. Now, what add mode does is it actually paints grunge ink on. So when you pick add, you're going to see multiple choices over here under add: distress, black, white, and custom. You still get the same opacity and brush size sliders, but if you go in and you choose distress, what that's going to do is paint darkened colored artwork over it. So it's going to keep the standard colors from your art, and it's going to just use darkened colors here to darken it. So it's actually sending a darkness to it. So that's what that would look like. Now this is going on top, so it's not knocking anything out. So for instance, if we turn off our shirt preview, this is all still there. It just has the darkness over top of it. Now you can change within the same layer without repainting at all. So if I want to see what this looks like black, I just pick black. It's going to change those strokes to black. It was a subtle change, maybe you didn't notice, but this is distress, this is black, this is white, and this is custom. On custom, you can actually change the color of the grit paint. So if you want to change it to something like red or yellow or green or whatever you want here, a specific color of gray maybe, you can do that right here. And again, tons of different colors here, tons of different options, tons of different brushes. So say if I wanted to use this one as distress, and then I wanted to come in also in addition to my distress and add like an erase, you can combine them together. So I can erase some and paint some on and give it like that kind of stained, worn look and that kind of aged look all in one go. And then if I go in and preview our shirt now, you'll see that we have some knocked out colors and we have some of that grunge painted on. So that's a really cool effect to throw together. And again, you can stack these as much as you want. So grab another one. Maybe you want to add some really fine texture in somewhere. Like maybe you want to wear out some of this car just a little more, right? You can come in with a really fine texture and knock some of that out. And there you go. So another thing to mention, because your alpha stays clean on all of them, none of this still overlays. So if I turn off the shirt, even where I painted some black on, it's not going over into the transparent areas. I know I've mentioned this twice now, but it really is important that I bring that across just because everything in here is non-destructive. All of these layers also can still be hidden. So I can go back in, toggle any of them off that I want, and get back to my original image. I can also just click clear all and start completely over. So really spend some time here, play with the different brushes. There are tons of different effects here. Play with the different modes and try that out. Now, the last option that we have up here is called crisp. And for crisp, this isn't a good image to try and show you what that does on because that actually does something completely different. So let's switch back over into a different project that we were testing crisp on earlier. Now, this really fixed those soft, semi-transparent pixels. So all those edge pixels that are causing that terrible white haze around your DTF print. This is one of them that actually a customer sent me and said, "Hey, I'm having a hard time with this image because I'm getting this really bad white haze." And if you zoom in, you'll see all of these semi-transparent blue pixels that are going to print with a fully white background. So because they're printing with white, because they have some ink in them, your RIP program can't really figure out what's going on. So if you're fighting semi-transparent pixels, what you want to do is go to crisp and hit add crisp layer and then drag your threshold up and down. Now, drag it to the right to erase more of your faint edge pixels and drive it to the left to fill those faint pixels to solid. So this is going to contract. So the farther I drag this up, the more we're going to lose that semi-transparent stuff, and we're going to get down to what's just solid. And then if I drag this left, it's going to turn all those semi-transparent pixels started. You can see that the image she sent me was even like cropped some at the bottom where it just completely stopped. But drag this threshold up to where you want it to be. If I wanted to get rid of all of them, drag it somewhere like here. And regardless of where I land here, everything is now fully solid or transparent. There is no semi-transparency. This slider just controls what that threshold is. So if you drag it to the left, you get more. If you drag it to the right, it contracts in more. But everything will be 100% either filled or not filled. There are no more semi-transparent pixels that are going to give you any type of ugly white haze. All right, so to go back into the other project, just to show you a few cool things you can do stacking stuff together. Let me switch back over, and then we're going to clear all this. I didn't mention a few things. So one, if you're on this Chromatone and you drop the opacity, you can always paint a mask. So on a lot of layers, you'll see a paint a mask option. You can paint it exactly where you want to apply it. So say, for example, you really only want the car to be chromatoned. That's fine. Just paint a mask over the car, and then you are chromatoned there. Now, if you want, of course, you'd want to spend some more time getting this a little more accurate, but that's close enough for what I want to do. And then I can also invert that mask and do everything but the car, right? So you can paint masks on things. You can apply that. You can brush over a part of the canvas to limit an effect to that region. That's available on most effects. And then you can clear that off if you don't want. I already showed you the clear all button. Now, once you have everything ready, to preview, we can go to export. So let's clear this off. Let's throw in something like we're actually going to make this. So let's get some grit. Let's grab grit 37. Why not? Let's leave it on erase, and let's throw on like a classic kind of very light. I didn't like that I clicked my menu there. All right, so say this is how we want it. We've previewed it on our shirt. Yep, this looks good. This is the look I'm going for. We're ready to export. Now you can export to either a download PNG, which is going to download your image exactly as it appears with all the transparency. You can save the project as a .overtone, which is how you get those recent projects from your launch screen. Now that is browser dependent. So if you switch browsers, if you switch computers, those don't transfer with you, but these overtone files will. So this is also going to download an overtone file. You can upload that from another computer and start off exactly where you left off with all of your layers preserved in the right-hand screen, along with all of your actual settings for each layer. You can also send it directly to a gang sheet or open it directly in Mockup Studio, all straight from here. So it is super easy to do. And now I've just sent that over to a gang sheet or a mockup. We can drop it right in here, and then we can export the mockup straight to here. Now, it's important to note that a lot of these mockups and even our editors render the screen at a smaller resolution. So this looks small here, but it's actually going to be at 300 dpi when it exports. That's just to keep your browser from crashing. We don't want to be loading 5,000 pixel wide images. Same thing on the actual editor itself in Effects Studio. This window, if you look down here at the bottom, is previewing at 1,500 pixels wide, but it's going to export at 3,000 pixels wide. So everything's made on a layer that is directly, the same resolution as what you're working with. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So everything's available here to do. You can pretty much do everything in ToneSmith now. So you can style here, you can send to the halftone editor, you can prep for print, you can build gang sheets, all without leaving ToneSmith. So every handoff that you have in here passes the finished PNG between modules. So it pretty much lets you do everything. And the overtone file is just for you to keep editing and pick up where you left off. So quick recap, Effects Studio is a new feature from ToneSmith. You bring your finished art in here. You use Chromatone to recolor, Screentone and Patina for texture, Throwback for vintage looks, Grit to paint grunge, Crisp to clean it up for DTF. So you can stack them, you can target them, you can send them to print. It's free with your ToneSmith plan. So if you're not on yet, there is a free demo linked below here and a 7-day free trial. Try it on your own design. post it up in the Maker Foundry group. And I definitely want to see what you guys are making with this. If you have any questions, refer to those quick start guides or to your account page. They're there as well as at the top of every page within ToneSmith, and the FAQ section for written questions. If you have any other questions that can be answered there, use this little chat icon in the bottom corner. This connects you to a live chat with us. We usually are pretty active on here, so it's either myself or my wife responding. It's usually me, but feel free to reach out and we'll get right back with you. And then if you have questions, comments, concerns, you want to drop them in the YouTube comments. If you want to see a new feature, please let us know either through chat or YouTube. Or there's also a page to recommend features as well within your account page if you want to do it that way. But feel free to reach out. We're always looking to add new features. We're adding things to ToneSmith very quickly. So this is developing really fast, and we're super excited about the community that we're building here. Thanks again for tuning in. My name's Eric. This was an overview of ToneSmith by Maker Foundry, the new effects studio, and I will catch you guys in the next one.